about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Oh, hello, America, and welcome to the Broadcasting Program Show, which we are thrilled to bring yet another exciting episode. Today, we have Rudy Giuliani on. I'm going to give you the White House strategy and what the White House was saying yesterday. We're going to go through all of the scams, the playing with the numbers, all of the accusations, what are true, which are not. I don't know. We did our homework so we can help you understand where this race really stands. And there's a lot of disinformation. And by the way, if you are labeled by Twitter as someone whose content may not be accurate, you know what? I'm at the point now where I look at that kind of as a badge of honor. It doesn't mean that content is accurate. It just means you are willing to say something. You're willing to question. You're willing to look at least the other side. I said this when I was in college. I still believe this. Anyone who tells you don't question this, anyone who says only listen to me, they are a danger not only to you, but you and your family's freedom. So we question with boldness. I don't know what the answer is going to be in the end, but I do have some questions, and we begin in 60 seconds. All right, I want to tell you, first of all, where the Trump administration stood according to the White House yesterday. And Rudy Giuliani is going to be joining us in a few minutes, and he's going to give us where they stand today and what their strategy is. But this is from yesterday. Here's the state of play. Pathway to victory in Pennsylvania. There are more than 1 million ballots left to be counted, including roughly 300,000 in Philadelphia. Using extremely conservative estimates, even if the president receives only 5% of the ballots in Philadelphia, and then 30% of the remaining ballots, these are all the ballots, the rest of the million, the president will win Pennsylvania by 40,000 votes. We are confident of winning because many of these absentee mail-in ballots are from conservative counties. There are 54,000 ballots left to be counted in Cumberland County, 40,000 ballots left to be counted in Westmoreland County, a county where President Trump won 69% of the vote. There are 20,000 ballots left to be counted in Franklin County, a county where President Trump won more than 82% of the vote on Tuesday. There are 20,000 ballots left to be counted in Beaver County. They believe that they will win more than 5% of the ballots in Philadelphia County because of the inroads that he made with blacks and Hispanics. They expect to overperform the historic GOP margin of minority voters by 2 to 5%. But as of yesterday, they were saying if we get only 5% of Philadelphia and 30% of the remaining ballots, they will take Pennsylvania. Now, I put Stu in an incredibly awkward position because, well, he's the gay character on a conservative show, so he's got to be the bad guy.
That's right. I forgot about that. I also forgot about being gay.
But I am asking him to look at all of the stats and look at both sides of everything and tell me where anybody has it wrong. Now, this is from the White House yesterday, so things have changed. They've counted more. Tell me where we stand in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is going to be very close. They're taking aside these sort of things that you're seeing about fraudulent activities that the administration or the campaign is correctly going and looking into all of these and doing everything they can to try to stop anything that might be shady. Just talking about the general pacing of the arc that is a story arc that's revealed to us as cinematic viewers as we sit here and watch the election results come in. What we expected from the beginning was Donald Trump to come out to a very large lead. And as these mail-in ballots came out, it would start to be, they would chip away and we would see what happened at the end. So as of right now, Donald Trump has 50.5% of the vote. Joe Biden is at 48.4%. The difference is 140,000. What was the minute margin they said there? 300,000?
300,000.
So it got cut in half basically yesterday. It is going to get a lot closer than this. There's still a lot of vote to happen in places like Philadelphia.
Wait. A lot of vote to happen, or a lot of
a lot of vote to be counted. A lot of counting to happen. I should be very
counting.
Careful with my words.
That was the thing. The media said that Trump said, you got to stop counting. No, he didn't. He said stop voting.
Right, which is a big difference.
Yes.
Yes, we all agree that they should stop voting, and whether that's true or not, we don't know. You could just have machines churning out ballots. We have no additional information on that, but. The numbers that the campaign gives there are, or at least were as of yesterday, accurate. The important thing to remember, though, is those were largely in-person tallies. So we expect so if you're in a Republican county where he got 69% of the vote, you'd expect the mail vote to be much less positive for Donald Trump. He might still win it, but he wouldn't win it by that sort of margin.
Right. And even, they are counting on only 30%. So if he was in a county where they got 69, he's only counting on getting 30%, which I think is extraordinarily reasonable.
And that's about the margins that you'd expect. Now, they expect there's about 10% of the vote left overall in the state. About 6 million votes have been cast. It's probably a little bit less than that by now, about 400,000 votes, perhaps. Joe Biden would need to make up about 140,000 votes from where we are now. So look, it is going to be tight. I would say that you'd expect this to be tight. People who look at this at the county level right now expect Joe Biden to have enough votes at the end of this to win the state. Now it's not a universal agreement, but it's going to be close. Mm-hmm. But if things play out the way they expect them to play out, they would put Donald Trump as the underdog in Pennsylvania overall.
Let me go to Arizona, because there is a lot of argument with Arizona and confusion with Arizona. First of all, let's address a couple of things. The Sharpie rumor, the fact that some people were told to use Sharpies, other people said not to use Sharpies, and they say their votes aren't counting. That's not apparently the explanation is. That is not true, that it will count felt markers. They prefer that you don't use Sharpies because it bleeds through, but it still counts all of it. But they're saying now that the rumor is that they're throwing out anything that was used, was marked with a Sharpie. The officials say that is not true. You can bet your life that if it is true, Donald Trump will be suing over that.
And he should, by the way. Right. Anytime there's any suspicion of anything, Donald Trump and his legal team, and I'm sure as Rudy Giuliani will soon describe to us, is going to be all over it. Mm-hmm. So that is something they should do, and the media is acting as if this is not exactly what would happen if the Democrats were in this position.
I know.
They should be doing that. They will be doing that. They will do everything they can to try to win and to make sure every legal vote counts.
He has a responsibility, as does Joe Biden, to make sure that every vote that went for them was counted. I believe they have the responsibility to make sure that every vote was counted, not just for the ones that voted for them. But that's what each side is doing. And I think Americans will accept any result as long as it is fair. If it was gained by fraud, you're not going to bring America together. But Joe Biden, I wildly disagree with him, and I will fight against his policies every step of the way. And for President Kamala, I will do the same. But she and he are the president and vice president, or the former president, God rest his soul, and the new president. And that's just the way it is. We're Americans. That doesn't mean we stop fighting.
No.
It doesn't mean we do, but we respect a legitimate process. And we just need to make sure this is all legitimate.
Yeah.
So we need to be the place that we may not be feeding you the food you want. If you just want to say it's being stolen, I believe that there are many things that could lead you to believe that it is being stolen. I don't trust the Democrats at all, especially in places like Pennsylvania and Detroit. But we have to be very careful and make sure that everything is accurate on what we say.
Yeah, we should point out too that a viral video on YouTube is enough of a reason at this point for the Trump campaign to look into it really closely.
Yeah.
It's not enough to say that there's evidence of any of these things happen. We all know that people post videos all the time of things that aren't true. But this is the Trump campaign's job. It's why people have donated millions of dollars to legal defenses to try to get these things to play out. This is what they're doing right now, 24/7. And I'm sure that Giuliani will outline some of the efforts they're going after. If they can get these things to be proven, then votes might change. But that's the sort of level of standard they have.
I don't think I've ever made a donation to the RNC, but Tanya and I did. But we made it for the legal defense of Donald Trump at this time. They were not prepared financially. The RNC was not. I've heard from people behind the scenes that the RNC is fighting really hard. I was concerned yesterday. Where are they? They are fighting really hard. That's what I hear from people who don't like the RNC. And there is still hope that this is going to turn around. Let me get to Arizona quickly, and then I'm going to take a quick break. A final batch of mail-in ballots is still being counted, with the latest arriving ballots being counted last. The White House yesterday believed that over 500,000 votes remain to be counted. They expect 2/3 and 7/10 of those ballots. They expect to win Arizona by 30,000 votes. Last night or the night before, they won 62% of the 80,000 election day votes that came into Maricopa County. They expect that margin to be higher in the rest of the state. Now, they're expecting to win Arizona. This is one that is absolutely in play.
Yes, I agree. The Trump administration complained a lot about the state being called at the beginning. It's been called only by Fox News and the Associated Press.
Something CNN has not called it.
Nope.
For Biden,
and they shouldn't. I mean, Nate Silver said yesterday that they should retract the calls.
Yeah, last night. I think he came out and said
they should retract those calls.
Retract it. That's now, Nate Silver.
Yeah. Now, Maricopa County is getting much closer. They shouldn't have called these races. I will say that for sure. It's way too close. Maricopa County is helping the president. It's unlike, for example, the situation in Pennsylvania where Trump keeps, shedding votes, not shedding votes, but like the margin gets closer and closer and Biden is catching up. It's the reverse in Arizona, where in Arizona, these votes are coming in positively for the president and he's closing the gap. Exact reverse situation. He needs to, I think they said they needed 2/3 of the vote. They thought there. I don't think they necessarily need that much. I think that's what they said they were expecting was 2/3. They need about 60.
We expect 2/3 to 7/10 of these ballots.
So so far what they're getting is about 60%. So they're a little lower than that estimate. However, that's about what they need. They need about 60% to pull this off of all the remaining ballots. The issue is in Maricopa County, they're doing that. There's a bunch of votes in Pima County where people expect they will do worse than this. It's more Democratic leaning, so they think they'll do worse than that. This one's going to be very close.
Razor close. Razor close. And it seems to be that way all across the country. in these
Arizona, Georgia,
yeah,
and Pennsylvania.
And we're going to get to Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Michigan in just a second. Stand by. According to the White House yesterday, the pathway to victory in Nevada, they say late-breaking mail-in votes will help. They believe that once all the legal ballots are counted, they will win by 5,500 votes. That is ridiculously close. But they are concerned about corruption in Nevada. Now, Georgia, President Trump, they say, built an insurmountable lead that the Democrats cannot beat. They lead by over 100,000 votes. Now, that has changed since in the last 24 hours, but they're still not calling Georgia. Where do we stand in Georgia?
So it has narrowed a little bit. Currently, Donald Trump, 49.6% of the vote. Joe Biden, 49.2%. The margin there is now 19,000 votes. So it's closed quite a bit. From what I read earlier this morning, they are projecting that Donald Trump or that Joe Biden would need to win about 68% of the remaining vote to pull this off. If the problem with that is, and that's obviously a much higher percentage than anyone statewide, the problem is these votes are all coming from places like Atlanta. So it's very possible that Trump will not have enough votes at the end of this. Biden can win. It is tight. Again, this is going to be Arizona and Georgia I'd put in the same sort of bucket. They're going to be really, really close.
These are this close. 5,000 ballots. Aren't these all, almost all of them, automatic recounts?
So the states have different rules. I know, like, for example, Wisconsin is in that margin.
Right.
We can get to that in a second. I don't know all the rules for recounts yet. I'm kind of looking to see what the totals are going to be first. But yeah, I mean, usually they can probably get recounts in a lot of these states. Pennsylvania may. The issue here is Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania, of all of these states, is one of the least likely, probably, for Trump to win. And nothing else matters, basically. If Biden wins Pennsylvania, he's going to be the president, as much as I hate to utter such words. However, look, I wouldn't say Pennsylvania is a sure thing by any means, and I'm sure Giuliani will present a very, a very strong optimistic picture. Yeah, I mean, it's not like, again, you can only do so much with this. You can look at these projections and say these are where the places are coming from. This is what we think they'll be, but that doesn't mean that those individual people said, you know what, those people may have said I voted for Trump. It may not be as They may not get 68% of the vote in Georgia. So these things are not sure. There's a lot of margin of error here. But as far as what it looks like is remaining in the vote, it tilts a little towards Biden in these states.
All right, we'll finish with the Glenn Beck program real quickly. Let's go through North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and then get to some of these hoaxes and some of these things that should be questioned.
Where do you want to start?
I want to start North Carolina quickly.
North Carolina, I think, is going to be a Donald Trump state. I guess they're worried about calling it because there could be, some really large Democratic areas that could make up this difference. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Trump is going to win North Carolina. I think that's a 90-10 sort of situation for
Wisconsin,
Trump.
Tight race within 1%. It's a recount state.
It is a recount state.
Yeah.
No more votes to count there. Trump is down by about 20,000. The last time they did a recount, they did two recounts. Scott Walker, the former governor, pointed this out. They did two recounts when he was there. When they did full state recounts, they only overturned about 300 votes or less in both of them. So it's unlikely they'd be able to change that outcome.
Have you looked at the two cities that are showing a 90% turnout for a voter?
Yeah. So go ahead, Pat. You had some.
Have you looked at the wards in Milwaukee that show 202%? Turnout for voters?
So what it seems like they're doing, right? Now, Wisconsin is
cheating. That's what it seems like. Right. What they're doing is cheating.
It does seem that way.
They're doing it. They're factoring turnout based on registered voters, which is not how you factor turnout. That's not the correct way to calculate that number. And look, a lot of the people making this claim know that. Okay. The other part is because you say like turnout is how many people could vote and how many people turned out, not you don't divide it. The correct denominator is not registered voters, especially in a state, which is the case in some of these situations where you can register the day of. So you're adding actual new registered.
I think
is that the case in Milwaukee?
I think in Milwaukee
it is. I think Wisconsin is one of those.
Okay,
states.
so they may have been registered.
Right. They may have,
then.
Right. And it's also like, there's a lot of weirdness with this election in that, like, for example, people normally you'd say like people who go to college, right, are going to vote at their college and they're going to have huge margins for the left, right? Mm-hmm. What's happening in some of these situations is none of the kids are at college right now, right? Because none of them, that's all canceled and they're all doing it from home. So it's dispersing this vote into different places around the state.
Okay, so just help me out with 90%. That is the 90% voter turnout. That's a very patriotic city.
But again, 90% is not the correct number. A turnout, right, is not how you. That's not how you calculate that. For example, there are more now. Who won Texas? Donald Trump. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. More votes cast than there were more votes cast in early voting than the entire election last time.
Right.
So there's lots of this stuff going around. To be able to say that it is not crazy in certain areas to have numbers like that, especially when you manipulate the number and change the denominator, which is what they're trying to make the best argument possible. It is not proof of fraud, but again, to be clear on this, Donald Trump's campaign should be investigating every single one of these things. And look, you'll know the truth if Donald Trump's campaign starts filing things on these. If they actually believe these claims, there will be new lawsuits filed on all of these things. So far, they're not filing suits on this, but they will.
Why do you want Joe Biden to win so badly?
I don't. I want him to lose.
You noticed? What is it with this guy?
I'm just saying that, like, look, some of these arguments are really good. Some of them are not so good.
Yeah. I will tell you this, that this is not at least we did hold on, or looks like we did hold on to the Senate. That's a very good thing. It was the largest voter turnout in American history. But what's crazy is, and I'm going to talk about this later, there are two Americas. I'm not convinced that everybody who voted for Joe Biden didn't know what they were voting for. I'm not willing to say, they didn't know.
Yeah, they did. I think most of them did.
Most of them did. Mm-hmm. But half of America believes that we should go in this unconstitutional and socialist Marxist sort of way. I'm not with that, but neither are a record number of Americans.
Yeah, and pointing to the fraud thing is an interesting part of that too. And that, like, look, do I think there was some fraud? Yes. In fact, every election has some fraud. Do I think that people really are trying to do this and turn this election? Of course, and it needs to be investigated. But it would be a weird way to attempt fraud by allowing the Republicans to keep the Senate and to expand or to get more seats in the House and win a lot of the governor races that were key.
Well, you have to make it look legitimate.
Right. And maybe that's it. Who knows? We'll see.
Quite honestly, I am focused on what comes next and what's happening on the streets with Antifa. Because that is not. I think we are going to enter the season of assassinations from Antifa or any of these Marxist radical groups. They are already talking about it, and they are not going to be happy with Joe Biden.
They're already out there protesting. They're saying the vote is over, but the fight begins.
Yeah, the fight begins. Yeah. The fight begins.
Amazing. I think he's going to win North Carolina. I don't think Wisconsin's going to come around.
And Michigan,
I think he's going to lose. I think it was at the correct call. The margin. Now there's all sorts of shadiness.
Yeah. Let me just play one here. Here's a video of a guy who is counting the vote in Detroit. Listen to the narration of this.
I'm wondering what's going on here.
This is an observer looking at
it has
the vote.
A fit about something.
The guy is counting, and then he's pissed at a ballot,
and then flips off a ballot, and then crumples it up.
He's talking to the ballot. He might be crazy. He crumples it up and throws it.
That's not voter fraud. I don't know what is.
Well,
it's hard to tell what's going on there, but it does not look good.
No, it doesn't look good at all. And then there was this, and this comes from an attorney from Texas that was staked out and watching what was going in and out in Detroit of the ballot counting center. And this is what happened about 4:00 in the morning. She's showing now a big white van pulls up, and a guy takes out what happened? My little red wagon.
Boxes. I wish I could tell.
So he's got a little red wagon, and he puts boxes in the wagon.
Where does this little guy come from so late at night?
And so then all of the little red wagon is going in with a box.
Wow. The places were closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is after anything was supposed to come in, and she caught not only this, but also others bringing in suitcases, et cetera, hours after you were to have any kind of additional information come out.
And that's when they'd gone night-night for the evening, right? And stopped counting the votes.
Well, no, I think Philadelphia is the one that went night-night. I think Wayne County continued to count.
I know a lot of state counties in Pennsylvania are counting 24/7 to try to get this done by Friday is their goal.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's a lot of shadiness there. That it looks like the margin, though, it's well over 100,000 votes now. I don't know where it's going to end, but I mean, it's going to be a state that was close in the percentages. Right now, it's a couple points, but it's not going to be razor thin like some of these other states.
So let me help you out on one thing to give you a little bit of hope. Now, we're going to talk to Rudy Giuliani and find out what they are actually filing in the courts of law, what they say is going on, because that has to be fought. Every legal battle has to be fought. But let me tell you that I said this to Megyn Kelly last night. She's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Obviously not a Star Wars fan. I said, I think Donald Trump may turn out to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Strike me down and you'll make me more powerful. There is a new coalition, and it's not around the GOP. And it's really not even around Donald Trump. It's around someone who is unafraid, and willing to stand up. And I think there are millions of Americans, well, it was proven, millions of Americans who feel this way. They've had enough. And they're not afraid anymore. And I think Donald Trump, I think the reason why you're seeing Trump treated poorly on Fox and Donald Trump treating Fox poorly is that I think he's going to leave and he'll start his own cable network. He'll go right head to head on cable TV, I believe. And when he does, the millions are going to flock to watch it. And it could be a final death nail into the media, and that'll drive them out of their minds.
First of all, you're just speculating if he loses, which is not certain at this point, to be clear.
However, but he's not going away.
Let's be honest.
If he loses, he's not going away.
I thought about this yesterday. Tell me this is not true. You want to talk about blowing the minds of the media? If there is a primary poll for 2024, who leads it?
Donald Trump.
Is there any incentive for Donald Trump, even if he's not going to run in 2024, to say he's not going to run in 2024?
No, none.
The only incentive is to keep that alive because it puts you in the middle of every news cycle, especially if you're launching a media venue. And I think, honestly, there's a good chance that Trump would want to run again. And people are like, well, he might be 80. So Joe Biden is going to be even older if he's still president in 4 years. And again, that's if this happens. Can I give you this breakdown here real quick?
Quickly. Yeah.
5 states. Trump needs to win 4 of them. Okay. I consider Georgia and Arizona about a 50-50 shot. Okay. Either one of those, he could win, he could lose. North Carolina, I think, is 90-10 Trump. I think he's going to win North Carolina. Nevada, I think, is probably more like 25-75. I don't think he's going to win Nevada, but it's possible. The big one's Pennsylvania, which I think is probably more like 30-70 as I look at it right now. Everything I described here, the betting markets are a little more pessimistic than I am. except for North Carolina, which it does. They would agree with the analysis about 90% chance of Trump to win. But I mean, these are not like lottery ticket Hail Marys we're talking about here.
Right. I would like to say, so you're saying there's a chance,
but it's better than
that.
better than Jim Carrey trying to get the girl in Dumb and Dumber. It's better than that. It's just that things need to break the right way, and the campaign is all over this stuff to make sure it doesn't break the wrong way because of fraud, and that has to. We have to have faith in this outcome. And that's why all of these things need to be investigated.
All right. Rudy Giuliani's coming up in just a second. I also want to remind you who you are with some video from MSNBC that is just mind-boggling. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Glenn Beck program. Rudy Giuliani is coming up in just a second. I want to show you something. This is MSNBC last night describing a mob scene in Arizona. Watch and listen.
Heidi, you have some news on the ground there at that counting facility. What is actually happening behind you?
Yeah, Eamon, behind me is Detroit's TCF Center. This is where poll watchers are racing to try and count all the votes outstanding here in Wayne County. But what we see here is essentially an increasing mob-like scene of self-proclaimed poll watchers who say that they want to get access to the building. So many of them have rushed into the building here that I'm actually talking to official Democratic poll watchers from the Democratic Party who've been shut outside of the balloting room, which they're supposed to have access to. Eamon, it's gotten to the point where we do have a police presence here.
Stop.
The visuals are vital.
The visuals are vital to this. People standing around with their hands in their pockets, and they're not even close together. Nobody has a sign. Nobody's chanting anything. That's a mob scene to CNN. Another mob scene. Do you have the photo of the prayers? There it is. Look at this mob scene. Yeah. All these Trump supporters down on their knees in prayer.
This is great.
It's a mob scene.
This looks like the most genteel crowd anyone has ever seen, and they're describing it as a mob after doing reports in front of burning buildings.
Cars. Yeah, and that wasn't a mob. One last. This is these are the protesters that you can see, and they're chanting, "No borders, no walls, no USA at all," and death to the death to fascism and the liberalism that enables it. So, but that wasn't. I mean, why report on that one?
No,
when you've got a mob scene of like 40 people with their hands in their pockets, and of course the mob scene also with everyone just kneeling in prayer. That's what they say they're doing. But imagine if on their shoulders they all had a rocket launcher.
Oh my gosh, it's the same position.
It's the same position.
Oh my gosh.
They're using spiritual rocket launchers. If that's not a violent mob,
they're casing the building for a rocket attack.
They're like, where should I aim it if I get one? Yeah. All right, Rudy Giuliani is coming up in just a second. Stand by.